Good evening. Welcome to Live United. Live United is an opportunity to share stories and information about all the good work going on here in the Monadnock region to address the needs of the public and our citizens. And today I'd like to welcome Kim Diamond. Kim is with us from Joy's Network. Wonderful opportunity for us to talk about Joy's Network and also talk about an awareness month that is going on this month. So Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thanks for being here. Tell me a little bit about how Joy's Network began, because it's an interesting story and one that's very heartfelt, I think.
Yeah. Joy's Network was actually developed about 5 years ago. We incorporated as a nonprofit in January of 2010 after finding out that my mom, Joy Diamond Herrick, had liver cancer. And she was diagnosed in May of 2009 and passed away in August of 2009. She had been not feeling very well for pretty much that entire year. She had gone to the doctor in early January and was given a clean bill of health. They couldn't find anything wrong. Told her to take some over-the-counter medication, and she felt a little bit better, and then she just started feeling worse and worse and worse. She was having some fatigue. She was losing her appetite. She was losing weight without trying. She was starting to present with some abdominal issues, just pain in her abdomen and some just things that they couldn't really explain. And so she, after a few months, she went back to the doctor. She ended back up at her primary care physician in May, and he could feel a tumor in her abdomen area and wanted to get that checked out. And he had initially said that it must have been a fast-growing tumor, probably was benign, and they were preparing for surgery. And after taking some tests, they realized that she had stage 4 liver cancer and that she was not a candidate for surgery because it had already traveled to her lungs. So it had metastasized and they couldn't do anything for her. So they told her to get her affairs in order, and she was sent to an oncologist. And they were able to provide her with what they call palliative chemotherapy, which is not meant to cure. It's meant to maybe shrink the tumors to present with some relief, but it's not intended to cure the patient. And she was given about 6 months to live. And she passed away 2.5 months after her initial diagnosis. She'd had about 4 chemotherapy treatments, and they weren't helping. And just the treatments themselves were exacerbating her illness, and so she passed away very quickly from a disease that we were shocked to know that she had. So
I'm sure the audience, much like me right now, feels sorry for your loss. And at the same time, you've done something really good out of that experience. You've developed Joy's Network, named after your mom. And oftentimes we don't get an opportunity to do that, but you've really taken this experience, and this month happens to be Liver and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. What would you really want the public to know? Because you mentioned a few details there about things that your mom was experiencing, and I shared before the show, I think sometimes people aren't their own best advocates. They really trust in other people to take care of them, and sometimes we need to speak up a little bit.
Exactly. It's I think most people now know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There's a huge and wonderful campaign for that, and breast cancer is represented by pink, and liver cancer is also represented in October, and it's represented by the color yellow and sometimes the color green, and it's sort of overshadowed because not a lot of the population end up with liver cancer. It's much more rare than some other cancers. But when you get it, it tends to be a disease that's not treatable. So, especially in the stage that my mom was at, she was at stage 4. And I think that a takeaway from my mom's situation is that she was someone that didn't like to go to the doctor. She didn't want to waste their time. She wanted to treat herself, and I think she had something gnawing in the back of her mind, but she was able to sort of explain away every little detail that was going on in her body. She thought that she was having stomach upsets because the cream in her coffee was bad, or the new vitamin that she was taking didn't agree with her system. She thought she was losing weight because she wasn't eating as much and didn't have as much of an appetite. And she didn't have as much of an appetite because she had cancer. And that's why she was losing weight. She wasn't trying to lose weight. She wasn't exercising extra or, on any kind of diet. She just started losing weight. And that's a big sign for something that might be going wrong with your body, is if you're becoming very fatigued and you don't really have a reason why. You're not working more, getting less sleep. Your body isn't feeling quite right. If your dietary habits have changed, it doesn't necessarily mean you have cancer, but it could, and it's at least worth going to get checked out. She waited quite a while, and she even said to me when I had a conversation with her in April, the month before her appointment, and I said, if you've been feeling so bad, why don't you go now? Tell your doctor that you have to be seen. And she said, I was checked out in January. They said I was fine. I just feel like there's just something going on, and I want to wait to see my primary care physician because I didn't get to see him the last time. So she was waiting to get on his schedule. And she said, and I don't want to clog up the system for people that have real issues going on, like someone with cancer. She literally said, like someone with cancer. And she was belittling her own experience, thinking that, because she was explaining it away. And I think a lot of us will try to explain things like that away. One, because we don't want to be sick, and two, because you don't think it's going to happen to you. And I think that's a huge thing, is that you really need to know your body. And if you've had some issues going on that are lasting more than 2 weeks and are persistent, you should get yourself checked out just to be on the safe side.
I think that's a really important message. And I think you've taken it one step further with Joy's Network, because once somebody is diagnosed, you're there to provide some support and assistance. Can you tell us a little bit about how you do that?
Absolutely. This sort of stemmed, it was kind of interesting, when my mom got sick, she had to leave work immediately because she had to start chemotherapy right away. And she was already presenting with symptoms. I think a lot of times when you have cancer, you don't even know you're sick. You think, what? Are you kidding me? I can't be sick. I feel fine. She didn't feel fine. So she was in a very advanced stage, and they needed to start things right away. So she stopped working, and she had been at her job for, I'd say, about 3 months, right before you would get benefits and things, because she had been working for an organization, local organization, for 18 years. Doing direct care for folks with disabilities, and then she wanted a desk job. And so she was new on the job, and she didn't have the benefits, she didn't have the sick time. So she experienced what it was like to sort of lose your job unexpectedly, still have bills to pay, and then all of a sudden, wow, you have cancer. And she had insurance through her husband, but there were still bills racking up because not everything is covered, and she wasn't working, so he was having to pay for everything. So you just sort of like go into this moment of shock where everything in your world is changing. And she tried to apply for Social Security benefits, which, because of the type of cancer she had and that it was terminal, she was approved immediately. But because of state statute, or actually federal statute, even if you're approved immediately, in most cases, unless you're below the poverty level, you will not receive your benefits for 5 months, which equates to 7 months once all the paperwork is done. So she passed away before she would even have received a Social Security benefit. And she and I started working on that particular issue, trying to get it noticed that if you have a terminal illness and you've been given 6 months to live, it doesn't make sense that you're awarded Social Security benefits and just to never to receive them. We found that that was a huge, daunting task, and that people try to work on that every single year. But because it's a finance issue, it's not something that's going to go through in short order in terms of changing the laws around that. So we looked at what can we do right now. And my mother was a giver. She had a fruit basket business, Joy's Fruit Emporium, for many, many years. And she worked with people that had disabilities and needed help and assistance, and in the spirit of what my mom did, and not to mention that she loved life, and she was a happy person, very positive, and would give the shirt off her back for anyone. So my sister and I and a group of friends sat around my dining room table on Sunday mornings once a month, every Sunday morning, and discussed what we could do. And that's how we developed Joy's Network. What we did first is my sister and I inherited her fruit basket supplies. So we took all of those supplies and we worked with the Marlboro Community House. We just had space down there, and we worked with some local Brownie, Girl Scout, and Daisy troops, and we made 30 baskets. And we delivered those baskets to folks that were in hospice care or who were receiving treatment for cancer here in the oncology unit in Keene. And that is how we began. And so we were making baskets, doing deliveries for folks, and tailor making them for if someone had esophageal cancer, we would put things in that were very soft and easy to eat, and things that you could, deck of cards, crossword puzzles, something like that. Anything to help make you feel more comfortable. And over the course of the years, we started adding grocery and gas cards to those baskets. And we've sort of now developed into, we still provide baskets to the oncology, to the Kingsbury Center here in Keene, for patients that are going through chemotherapy or radiation. But primarily, we provide people with financial assistance, because that sort of is what people are needing in the immediate. And we can't solve the problem. We can't fix their family situation but we can provide some sort of assistance that will hopefully help to brighten that day, that moment, take some pressure off, give them the ability to buy a prescription that they wouldn't be able to afford that month, or feel like they didn't have to take food off of their table in order to pay for gas to get to an oncology appointment. So that's sort of what we're doing right now, and we're able to, at this point, offer $300 per person for assistance and for any type of living expense.
So you're providing that kind of support, that kind of financial assistance that people are oftentimes in need of when they're in a crisis situation.
Absolutely.
And like you said, they're looking for, how do I put food on the table and pay the medical bill? Or, my car needs repairs and I've got these medical bills piling up. It sounds like you've really taken on a role in advocacy, really trying to reform laws attached to this. And we all know that's an uphill battle. And it is challenging, but it's good people like you that are making that happen, and we have to have people like you out there doing that. So a great legacy in memory of your mom. If people wanted to reach you, you also provide another service, and I want to make sure we talk about that, because you've got opportunities for people to get together and really talk about their issues, and it sounds like you're developing some new things. So
Yes.
maybe you can share those, and then once you share those, I really want to make sure we're putting up on the screen for people how to reach out and contact you.
Okay. We have, and we've been doing this for the past 5 years, we have a group called In the Company of Sisters, and it is it's sort of a social networking group for women with cancer. It started off as a group for women with breast cancer, and it's still primarily a group for women with breast cancer, but we did open it up to any woman with any type of cancer. Most of the women that we see do have breast cancer in this particular group. And we meet on the first Monday of every month from 6 to 7:30 p.m. We have an office over at the Hannah Grimes Business Center, and we actually used to be upstairs, and now we're downstairs. So we're in the same building, but we're downstairs, and that's where we're meeting. And it's open to any woman who is in the diagnosis process, is being treated, is recovering from treatments, or is well into survivorship. It's sort of a peer-driven group. I co-facilitate it with Janine LeClaire, and she is a breast cancer survivor, well over now 5 years. And we have women come at every different stage in the process. And it's just sort of to offer support to each other. They can talk about different resources, what doctors that they found were really easy to work with, just sort of trying to work through things together and know that they're not alone in the situation that they're finding themselves in.
Really important. And
Yeah.
I understand from talking with you previously that you're getting ready to develop a new group for younger people.
Yes, actually, this just sort of came to our attention because the Keene High School field hockey team took on Joy's Network as one of their as one of the nonprofits that they wanted to raise some money for this year during their Play for the Cure games. And they're donating some of their money to Norris Cotton Cancer Center in Lebanon towards cancer research, and they're also donating a portion of the money that they've raised to us. And they're doing this in part because there are 7 people on the team alone that have been affected in some way with someone in their life having cancer or losing someone to cancer. And we realized that we've been focusing on, we have a support group for women. We are, in the future, going to develop a group for family members as well. But this sort of came to our attention that it might be something really good to focus on right now, what we can do with teens. And so we're in the developing stages of that. And it wouldn't be a support group, a therapy group per se. It would be a group where teenagers who have gone through this experience can come together and know that there's comfort in being able to spend time with others that have gone through things that you have and maybe your other peers haven't. And I know that with Joy's Network, one of the main benefits it's given to me is it gave me something positive to work through when I was grieving. And that was really important. I wanted to honor my mother's memory, and I wanted to take all that pain and transform it into something that was useful. And I think that, in the spirit of how we've developed, we would like to also be able to facilitate that for other people and, participate in something that you can sort of express how you feel, but also come to an end result where you're doing something good for someone else.
And I mentioned at the beginning of the show that you took something that was a very traumatic experience for your family, and you've turned it into something really important for the Monadnock region. And it sounds like you're going to do that now for young people. And I just think that's just so incredibly valuable, because here in society we so oftentimes don't know how to grieve and don't know how to take that and take our anger that may be associated with that and turn it into something that can make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're advocating, you're out there developing these great networks and opportunities for people to come together. What are your needs as a program?
As a program, we need to collect funds we are focused just in the Monadnock region. So our primary base is Cheshire County, and we also offer services to people who live on the border towns of Cheshire County. So we keep this very locally focused, which means we rely heavily on local people and businesses to donate funds so that we can then take those funds and give them to the cancer patients. So that's something that's huge, being able to take in some donations, and also having people spread the word about us. If they know about us, if they've been to a group, if they've received assistance, or if they know someone that has, telling someone else when they are being faced with a diagnosis of cancer. We want to know about that. We want to be able to help as many people as we possibly can. So, it's about supporting on a financial level. It's about letting other people know that we're here, and also coming together when we're doing special projects. We'd love to have help developing the group for the teens, or developing another group for family members. If there's someone out there that's grieving and they're looking for something to do that's positive, we'd love to facilitate some sort of project for them. So, just coming together as a community. And grief, you can have grief whether or not you're going to die from cancer, or whether or not you've lost a loved one. Even if you have a great prognosis and you're expected to live a long life after treatment, there's a grieving process because your life changes, things become different, and grief is energy, and we can use that energy in a negative sense, or we can use it in a positive sense. And we'd like to be able to facilitate the positive use of that energy for folks. So
I think you're such a great inspiration, Kim. I just want to
Thanks.
say that. And I really want to highlight that you're not a United Way partner. People need to give directly to your program. And I want to say that this show is called Live United. This is not about the United Way. This is about the work that goes on in the Monadnock region organization that makes a difference in people's lives. And you have an opportunity, here's your call to action, citizens, an opportunity to volunteer. This new group that's developing for teenagers, get involved, be a mentor for this. Whether you've lived with this disease or been surrounded by it or touched by it somehow, or just want to make a difference in people's lives, you can get involved with this. The other thing is you can donate, and I believe they can go directly to your website to make that donation.
Yes.
Can you share what that website is?
Yep,
for
it's
folks?
joysnetwork.org. Very simple, www.joysnetwork.org. And there's a main page. We've made it pretty easy to navigate, I think. And there is a donate section. There's also an assistance section. So you can just click on a button. You can donate via PayPal. If you don't want to use the internet for donations, you can certainly mail a check to us at P.O. Box 593, Marlborough, New Hampshire. Zip code is 03455. And it's very easy also to sign up for our services. It's online. If you have access to the internet, it's a one-page form online, and then we get emailed that information, and then we will give folks a call or an email back and start the process. And if there's someone that doesn't have internet abilities, they can give us a call at 603-762-1800. So those are the best ways to reach out to us, and we take individual donations, and we also have two different fundraisers each year. One of them is called the Snowball. That is held in February, date to be determined at this point, and we've been running that for 5 years. This will be our fifth one. And it's a dinner dance, so it's kind of formal. You dress up if you want to wear a ball gown or whatever makes you feel special. And we have a dinner and a dance and raffles, and it's really special. We did it last year at Stonewall Farm, and it was an amazing night. So that is one of our fundraisers, and that's coming up in a few months. And we also have our Joyride, which is sort of our main signature event, and that's an event where if you are a motorcyclist, you can participate in a poker run. And if you're not a motorcyclist, you can come to our barbecue benefit that's after the run. And we started that. This is pretty incredible, I think. Our first year, we had 13 bikers, about 75 people at the event, and we raised $1,500. And this past year, we had 110 bikes with 156 riders. We had over 200 people at the event, and we raised over $10,000.
Wow, congratulations.
So that was pretty exciting. That was, the most that we've made for an event. It was a goal that we had for this year, and we made it, and it was pretty exciting because you can do a lot with $10,000 because we have very low overhead. We're an all-volunteer organization, and we don't pay our staff. We are blessed to have a wonderful group of 7 board members that do most of the work for this organization, which is why it's also great to have some volunteers to help out with different things going on throughout the year. And
so when people donate, they're actually donating to people receiving financial assistance and support.
Absolutely.
Services.
Yeah, we provide gas cards, grocery cards. We pay for electric bills. We've paid for gallons of gas or any kind of fuel, oil, kerosene we've paid for. We have paid an insurance premium for a gentleman who is going to be kicked out of where he was staying in a nursing home with hospice care because the family couldn't pay for the next premium. We paid for that premium, and he was able to die in hospice care in the environment that he was, getting the best care in. And we've also been able to we worked with a local family who had a child, 8 years old, who was going through cancer treatments, and they were being evicted from their home. And we worked with their landlord to allow them to stay an extra 6 months through her treatment. We paid for that family to stay in a hotel while we were working out the details for that. We've also been able to pay for a couple nights in a hotel for a man who was living in his car who had cancer, and he was waiting to get into a room that he was able to rent. So there's been some pretty interesting cases that we've had from anywhere from people who live in a very nurturing environment, have family and friends around them, to folks who don't have anyone. And, it becomes a point where if you have insurance or you don't have insurance, sometimes the bills can rack up. and we want to be able to help with that because it's a burden. You should be thinking about your health, not about your finances when you're going through cancer.
And I think we have to remember that it touches all of us in some way, and that so we all have a responsibility to care for one another, to whether it's donating, and if you don't have that ability and can't donate, to volunteer your time perhaps, or participate in one of the events and give a little bit that way.
Yeah.
So there's just so many ways it sounds like people can actually support the program. I'm wondering whether with winter coming, you have any special needs. Do you ever need things like jackets for people or clothing? Do people actually come to your groups? Because you mentioned a few folks that were really struggling with some of their basic needs.
Yeah. Yeah, in the winter months, basically, it's heating oil. It's heating oil that people are needing help with assistance for heat. And in terms of physical things, sometimes people are in need of some sort of medical equipment, whether it be a commode or a walker or a wheelchair, things like that. It's sort of like on an as-needed basis. We don't get much of a call for things like that, but every now and then there's someone that really doesn't have anything. And
what do you see and what message do you want to give to people as you move forward?
Moving forward, I just want to say that although cancer, regardless of the outcome of that diagnosis, it's scary and it's hard and it changes your life, it can't destroy it. And you can get through. You can get through if you have cancer. You can get through if you lose someone who has cancer. It's a process, but putting your pain and confusion to good use will help you to grow as a person. It will help make you a stronger person, a better person. And I think that whether it's with our organization or a cause of your choice, it's really important to give of yourself, give of your time, give of your resources if you can, and remember that you're not alone. And you could need the service in the future. We don't know what's going to happen. And I think especially with cancer, it's so prevalent. It's the second leading cause of death. So our chances of having a cancer diagnosis at some point in our lifetime is really high. And I think we need to be able to not be afraid of that and be able to say, this is a situation that's happening. How do we deal with this? How do we maintain ourselves and live as happily as we can, as thankfully as we can, even when times are really, really hard. And I think that you need people around you to be supportive in order to be able to do that. So support each other, be there for each other, and volunteer and reach out whenever you can.
And I don't think I could say it any better, Kim, but I do want to say that your mom would be so incredibly proud of what you've done. It's a very touching, I'm feeling very touched right now, and I'm appreciative of what you do out here in the Monadnock region, because it does make a difference in everybody's life here that lives here. So I want to thank you for joining me. I want to remind people that you can reach out to Joy's Network through their website, through calling. You can also reach them through Monadnock Service Link. You can reach them by contacting Monadnock United Way. If you can't remember a phone number or their website, just reach out to the United Way and we'll be happy to connect you with Joy's Network. So appreciative of everything that you do, and want to remind the public that you have an opportunity, and this is a great one, for Joy's Network to give, to volunteer, and to be an advocate for those who maybe need you. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night.